All right. I often do this, but I'm making two morning nausea videos in one day. Um, yeah, it's you might have heard of something called cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. This is where people who smoke weed um, will vomit. They'll smoke weed and then they'll have a bout of vomiting, and it like happens almost every time. And so they realize that their body is reacting negatively to THC. Um, I'm very, very grateful that I don't have that problem, because when I wake up nauseous and it goes on for a few hours and it's not shifting like right now, um, if I do imbibe a little bit of said substance, I usually find, well, basically every single time, my stomach sensations will quieten very quickly. And I'm not condoning it or recommending it, but um, yeah, there's a reason why you can get a medical card in a lot of places, and why that's been available for much longer than recreational has been. Um, and I guess I'm one of those people who benefits from it medically, um, because I mean, I just drank like this much Pepto Bismol. I don't know how much that was, but too much. Um, I usually am more careful with how much I gulp down, but I don't use the cup because I don't want to have to keep cleaning it. So I just keep the bottle by my bedside, and if I'm really struggling in the morning, I'll take a swig. And it doesn't work as well um, as THC to quell the nausea. Um, I also have ondansetron or Zofran, which is these little anti-nausea pills. I get these big blister packs of them, and that also doesn't help. It's like eating candy. Um, so the pharmaceutical industry makes a lot of really powerful drugs that really work. But in this case, unless my doctor just has been holding out on me, it doesn't seem like there is a medication out there that can deal with my morning nausea. Uh, Certainly not as well as cannabis. So yeah. Um, Today, my ex is coming over with her friends and some family to move all of her stuff out, and that's in about 3.5 hours. So I'm gonna go to my new friend's house and hang out with him this morning. And I'm supposed to have a a Japanese futon mattress arrive for me today. So they tried to deliver it yesterday and left a note on my door, even though I never heard a knock. Um, so I'm hoping they'll show up while the door's open and people are moving in and out. Um, Otherwise, they might just see a closed door and walk away. I don't know. But I don't have a way to pick it up if they decide to leave it at a different location. So I'm not too stressed about that, but when I'm struggling with nausea, I have to put those things out of my mind, because every little stressful thought feels like somebody punches or very sharply pokes my nauseated stomach. So such an interesting thing with medicating the stomach with marijuana. It's like the pain stops, but I can still tell that there's a sensation, that there's like activity happening in my stomach. It just feels like movement. And I can usually fall back asleep when it's that mild. But it's just very vexing. I have had an endoscopy where they looked inside my throat and they saw nothing out of the ordinary. So um, they wanted to put me on this old fashioned antidepressant called amitriptyline because it might reduce my sensitivity. Because the idea behind what they called functional dyspepsia is that everything's functioning as it should, apparently. So, what's potentially happening is the individual has hyper attuned themselves to be aware of their body sensations. And I definitely, I've always had an anxious stomach since childhood. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely have anxiety stomach, but would that even include your sleeping? Does your sensitivity increase so much that it just like stays that way and you don't even have to try to perceive it? It's just you're asleep, and because you're more sensitive now, it just wakes you up. Whereas if you weren't, it would just be digestion feelings and you'd sleep through them. I don't know, but that's kind of what they seem to be suggesting. And I said no to that antidepressant because I take one, two, three, four, five, one, two, three, four different medications, and I had such an awful time adjusting to them. Um, some of them, I'm not sure about most of them, but some of them, I felt like just really enraged, and I couldn't relax. I mean, how can you relax if you just spontaneously get hit with rage for no reason? It was awful. I thought that I was going to blow my head off. Um, but after a couple weeks, that kind of settled down. And when I tried a different medication for my stomach called glycopyronate that like creates a coating on your stomach to buffer it against the acid. And I was seeing a different doctor at the time, not my primary care physician, um, maybe to get a second opinion or something, but it was a place called the Free Clinic. So I could see this doctor for free. And she prescribed glycopyronate, and I took it for a couple weeks, and that rage feeling came back, and I quickly realized, oh, duh, I'm not absorbing my medication adequately anymore because I'm coating my stomach with stuff. So I think it might have helped too, which is the real sad part. Um, Helped the nausea. Um, I do have acid reflux. I know that because when I throw up, there's a little bit of blood in it, and I found out from another guy who had that problem that the acid wears away at the um, sphincter at the top of the esophagus, and it will bleed sometimes. And I will just get this excruciating heartburn. That's one reason why I don't drink alcohol. But I got it a couple nights ago. I had rice and beans for dinner, and I guess I might not have eaten enough other things during the day, but I had that for dinner, and then it was the same feeling. It felt like I had just like drank a shot of vodka or something on an empty stomach, and it was just like this intense soreness, stinging pain all through my chest in this huge wide area. So I know I have acid reflux too, but um, I just really wish that the medical industry had something for me, because also the fact that this usually um, is coupled with an inability to breathe. Waking up like that at 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. When you have stuff to do during that day makes it extremely hard. It's like I um I feel like I've got a fat suit on, and underneath the fat suit I'm like ripped because I'm going up and down stairs and carrying my groceries and stuff with a 200-pound bodysuit on me. And metaphorically speaking, that's how it feels to have these ailments, because I'll manage my mental health really well. Journaling, yoga, meditation, breathing exercises, gratitude, my cat, reaching out to trusted family, and the crisis lines and all this. I'll do everything I can think of to manage my mental health, but it doesn't matter how much reserves I've built up for myself, because after about an hour of struggling to breathe while I'm nauseous, I just my nervous system just goes kaput and I get into meltdown mode. And unless I'm really careful, I'll have a full blown meltdown at like 6 a.m. or something. And sometimes that would make me have to call out from work, because if you've never had a meltdown, maybe you've had a panic attack. It's different. It's not a sense of pure terror and dread, but it's a sense of dread and rage, anger, like just pure animalistic reaction to overwhelm, um, flailing around on the floor, hitting yourselves and screaming. And it just feels like 400 times the amount, like 400% of sensation is being pumped through your nervous system all at once, and all you can do is go. So it's just like the tension builds up until it just gets pumped out in this huge way, which is similar to a panic attack. If you've had one, you know that it comes out of the blue, and you'll probably have recognized that you were having a stressful time, but you were sort of gone on autopilot or ignoring it. And then all of a sudden, all that pent up emotion comes out in the form of feeling like you were just pushed out of an airplane with no parachute or something like that. I can't say which one is worse because they're both just awful. But imagine having that and then needing to get up and start your work day and like be on it, bright eyed and bushy tailed and ready to deal with. For me, it was 6 hours. I know most people work for 8 hours, but I can't handle 8 hours. Um, yeah, I actually have a doctor's note that my shifts are limited to 4 hours, but I haven't found an employer yet that has told me that that's okay. Um, so yeah, I am one of those annoying hippies who believes that everything, even the despicable, um, senseless violence, happens for a reason. And that doesn't mean that I'm like, yes, another baby died today, or yes, another bombing. Oh, it's all for the greater good. No, like it's very, very sad, um, and terrifying, and all of the bad things that it is those things. But um, it's kind of the way my mind works. And so when I've heard other people say these kinds of things, um, yeah, my mind already was ready to believe this. But there's this near death experiencer named Jonathan Ashford who I've listened to a lot in the past 6 months or so, and um, he does these free, like 3 hour long Zoom calls on Thursdays and Sundays, most of the weeks, and he'll pretty much go until all the questions have been answered, or you know, he'll often cut it off at 3 hours when he starts jumbling his words and stuff. But you can tell, like, he said that when he died, he was like a C-level executive with all the toys and, you know, trying to sleep with lots of women, and he said he was a bad guy. And now he says he has no ego, which I know is a crazy claim that people will make if they want you to think they're spiritual. But he doesn't take payment. He doesn't really ask for donations either. He will acknowledge that, like, those of he's like, those of you who do donate, thank you. It keeps the lights on, but I will never ask you to donate. Please do not feel like you have to. That's how he says it each time, basically. And I can tell it's not some covert way to siphon off a little bit of cash, because he was rich. He was very rich before, and he got rid of everything, and he lives in a camper van now. And I say all that to describe how I believe he is legitimate when he says these things, that when he went back um, into his body from from death, um, he was told he had gotten the message that everything is planned, everything down to each hair on your head and every blade of grass that grew during the dinosaurs, and every single piece of dust that falls in your room the exact way that it does. Every single crazy thing you can think of like that is planned out. And we have free will, but we really only have it in one sense, to which is to make the choice to be love or to not. And he said that until you make the choice to be love, your life will follow one predetermined path. But once you do, like, truly, deeply, fully make that choice to be love, then your life takes on a different path. And practically speaking, it's like, me as a regular person, I have all these wants. I want to have a decent job that I can handle so that I can stay in this place and be relatively comfortable. And I want my cat, and I want friends, and I want material comfort. But um, if I was to be love, sure, like, those things are good and important. But um, if I was really, truly being love, then I would take any job. I'd be happy to do any job. And I would love myself and the people there and what I was doing the whole time. And if I lost my home, I would say, great, okay, okay, universe, spirit, God, Jesus, whatever you want to talk to, sounds good. What's next? I'm all here for it. And it does sound totally delusional and crazy. And in a sense, it kind of is. Um, but that's the way he presented it, is that you can either be love or you can be in your ego. And I am in my ego all the time. I'm sure that, like a normal person, I have moments of love, but, like, even then, it's usually tainted by my. If there was, like, a little guy with joysticks inside of my head controlling things, that's what the ego would be like. It's like, nope, I don't want that. I want this. Gonna make sure that this happens and not the other thing. But I went through several years before I got into this relationship where um, I was struggling. I didn't have a lot of support, and I dove really deep into hardcore non duality. I used to even make YouTube videos where I would just say stuff like, um, everything that you're experiencing is actually just an illusion being projected by your consciousness. And in truth, we are all not separate from the source. We are all the source, and therefore, we don't actually move or go anywhere. The movement is also an illusion, and therefore, any sense of contrast or difference inside of my body is also an illusion. And so, if I'm anxious or sad, that's based on an illusion. The truth of my nature is that I am always in pure love and bliss. And sure, like that kind of sounds like spiritual mishmash, I guess, depending on who you are. But, um, and I don't deny that there's probably legitimately enlightened people out there who say things kind of like that, but it's not. It's spiritual bypassing, is what it is. At least for somebody like me. And I would actually feel good. I would like work myself into a sort of a high, thinking like, yes, I am enlightened, and I've been liberated, and I see the truth, and all of my problems are an illusion that I see through. Even though I was actually still really miserable and basically just like coping so hard. Um, yeah, and then I got into this relationship, and I didn't like entirely stop spiritual bypassing, but I did basically drop off of the radical non-duality stuff. And I would listen to near-death experiencers or psychics on YouTube, channelers, stuff like that. So I kind of went away from the everything is just this and or nothing, to like people saying like that they had a vision that the earth is going to split into 3D and 5D, and there's going to be a crazy moment of change and upheaval that precedes the golden age, um, where capitalism will be a thing of the past and everybody will have what they need. That might also be just as ridiculous, but yeah, it is a form of my coping. And Jonathan Ashford, I'm pretty sure, has said spirituality is like a $4 billion industry. And so if you're looking for that kind of thing, you'll find it. Um, and it's interesting, and sometimes it's so inspiring that I weep, and I feel it deep in my heart and my bones that um, I'm on the same wavelength as a lot of these people. I'll feel like the stuff they're talking about was something that had come up in my own mind just a little bit prior to that, and maybe sometimes that's true. But when you're miserable and you're trying hard to cope, it's easy to fool yourself, or it is for me, I think. But maybe I don't have to downplay all this stuff as much as I am. Um, so I guess everything happens for a reason, and the reason that I struggle so much in the mornings is for my own benefit. It's I don't know why exactly, but something I might imagine is that um, it's to help me accept discomfort in life, and to not try to hide in my comfort zone, because that's definitely a big part of who I am, and that's pretty much why my relationship ended when it did, because I had been trying to cope in my comfort zone, which you can't stay in, and then you get mad about it. um, but also, a lot of that too is just autistic overwhelm, and you can't really control that. You have to manage your lifestyle so that you don't feel overwhelmed. So I think a lot of it too kind of was just a matter of being in the wrong situation, which my ex is glad that I'm finally saying this, that I'm glad I'm not going back to that job because she's known for years, for 3 years, that it was not the right job for me. And I would just say stuff like, no, this is my safety job. I don't want to leave it because, you have insurance and paid holidays, and the coworkers are mostly good. Um, but yeah, being a paraeducator for a bunch of young adults with high needs who are loudly vocally stimming, like hollering so that it echoes off the walls nonstop. Like, ha! Like they're not verbal. It's not their fault. But when they're excited, ha! When they want your attention, ha! And I love these guys. I did it for 3 years. Um, but there's that. There's also ones who are bigger than me who would throw stuff at me when they were mad, which they would get mad almost every day once they reached their limit um, after a couple hours of obligations. So I stayed there for the reasons I mentioned, but I would have meltdowns at work because of the sensory overload. And when I say meltdowns, I mean like I'd be on the bus with these guys, basically kids, because that's another part of the job is you take them around town to go to their volunteer job sites or to go out for lunch or to do outings in the community together. It's like a um, half of their reason for being there. The other half is to be in the campus kitchen making food for each other and cleaning. um, so yeah, it's a really cool gig. But I remember at least one time I was on the bus. It was in the beginning of the day. It was like 11 a.m. on our way back to campus, and I was having a meltdown, and people could see me, and I was going like this, and people could see me, and I'm in a professional role. Um, most of the time on campus, what would happen is I would leave the room and throw the door closed behind me, and then rush to the bathroom and slam that door, and then immediately think like, oh my god, what am I doing? I have to stop. Um, and then I would sit in there for a while with the lights off until I calmed down. But oftentimes by that time, when I was already, I hadn't given myself a break before I started having a meltdown. So by the time I'm having a meltdown, I just feel like I have to go home. And so I often would. And so not this year, but the year previous, the year prior, they said, although it's out of my control, I had a problem of absenteeism because we had a review at the end of the year. And yeah, I got like really good reviews, except for that I have absenteeism. And that just sucks. It makes it seem like you're like, I know I'm supposed to be at work, but I just want to play Xbox and drink soda. Um, but no, every time that I was home, it was because my body had crapped out or it was crapping out. And I would sometimes try to go anyway, and I would end up having a meltdown and then leaving. So absenteeism just doesn't feel right. I'm at least glad they acknowledged that it was out of my control, but I don't like that term. I don't like the capitalist structure we have anyway because it makes people feel like their value as a person is tied to their productivity, and that's just not true. Yes, we should be accountable to each other um, and loving and kind, but um, ooh, I don't think that the way we have it set up now is fair, equitable, And I hope that it's true what these psychics and near death experiencers say, that we are at the end of the, as the Hindus would say, the Kali Yuga. Kali is the destroyer god, goddess, and we're going into, I can't remember what the new yuga is, like era or period. And I don't know how long it is, like 10,000 years or something. And the Kali Yuga was this harsh period of patriarchy and fighting, um, acquisition, and stuff like that. But that's in contrast to, it's not it's not like black or white, like masculine or feminine, but like overall what you usually hear is that we're moving into a period of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, really. But like the differentiation is to show that we're not going to be all about fighting to secure resources. It's going to be about nurturing, um, support, receiving. um, yeah, that's what they say. And the alien ones will talk about it too, in the terms of like, this is coinciding with disclosure, and there are likely going to be beings who show themselves, and um, as things get worse for us as humans here, they'll step in and say, like, yep, you had your time, but you're really making a mess of things, and you're not you're not in control now. We're going to show up and fix things a little, including by bringing technologies like zero point energy, which like draws energy from the air so that you could have basically unlimited energy. One near death experiencer said they saw, um, first of all, cities and things would no longer be a thing. People would live um, apart if they wanted to in nature, and their car would run on this battery, this zero point energy contraption, that they would, when they would get home, they would take it out of their car and put it into their house. That sounds pretty cool. And that near death experiencer was saying that people will be more spread out, but there will be lots of land that we're not allowed to use because it will be used by non humans. And also, this person was claiming that um, the average person will have their free energy in their car in their home, um, but they won't be flying around to visit foreign countries and go on vacation. That'll be something that is reserved for the elites. And so air travel and certain parts of the land will be reserved for elites and non-humans, but the regular humans will have everything they need. They won't be forced to work to survive, and we'll be able to spend our time doing what is meaningful to us. And it could all just be their brain drugged up and saying something nice that helps them cope, but I like the idea. So I'm gonna allow myself to vaguely believe that that's coming around the corner, and um, that would be great, because all this stuff I'm mentioning about my nausea and my autism making it hard to hold down a job, um, I know that I could still be useful. I mean, every single time that I go to the peer support groups, or talk to the peer counselors, I usually end up having a good time and feeling like I'm not teaching people, but like helping them feel seen by sharing my experience and sharing my ideas about what's going on for me and stuff like that. Which is a big reason why I've always wanted to work in mental health. And if I had some kind of high tech free energy, unlimited battery that let me have all the resources that I needed, um, I would probably just do that. I would probably just keep participating in peer settings and maybe volunteering, um, and just, yeah, being involved in community in ways that matter to me with low stakes. Because if I can't show up one day, then I show up the next day. And I don't have to worry about getting in trouble or not making enough money or whatever. Because I think for the most part, the average person copes okay with all this, but I also believe that the average person doesn't prefer it and either consciously or unconsciously is running on fumes and needs more rest. I have met people who say that they like to work and they don't like being on break for long because they get bored and restless. That's cool. That's fine. But those people can busy themselves all they want in a post capitalist society. They will just not have to worry about where their money comes from. Um, so, yeah, I guess I've rambled for almost 40 minutes, which is probably the longest video I've made so far. If you stayed here to watch the whole thing, wow. Thank you. Um, I sure ranted a lot. I will see you in the next one, and take care.